Good afternoon, this is Urosh from 4Notes, and welcome to our first episode of Meet the Artist by 4Notes. Today we have a very special guest in our concert hall, the youngest ever laureate of International Chopin Piano Competition, Tony Yike. Good afternoon, Tony. Welcome to 4Notes and welcome to Abu Dhabi.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
It's a pleasure having you here. Tony, we have a couple of questions for you today. So the first one is that it's always a pleasure meeting successful pianists, and I believe that our audience would like to know more about your musical journey. How and when did it begin?
So I actually began the piano under my mother. She was fortunately the only musical member of our family at the time, and she played the piano. She also sang a bit, and so she got me started when I was around 5 years old. That was also kind of when our family was moving from China to Canada, so yeah, a lot of changes in my life around that time. And I think music really helped kind of, it was a constant in my life during that point, and it gave me a lot of, I guess, pleasure, especially at the beginning of the journey. And so it was, yeah, quite a natural entrance
Into the
piano education.
Okay, so my next question that's will be linked to the first one is when you actually decided to become a professional pianist. So when was that breaking point when you feel that you have something more and that you have more passion and that you would like to take it further?
Yeah, so this question is very interesting because for me, I of course, this is not the first time I'm getting asked this question. But, I think it's very difficult to kind of pinpoint just exactly one point in my life where I decided, today I'm going to suddenly become a pianist. And partly because there's so many things I'm interested in the world. And, even until kind of very recently, I was still involved in, a lot of other things. For example, I did my bachelor at Harvard University in economics. And so that was, also something that, for me, even until then, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. But in terms of, I guess, when I was a child, I would say that for at least the first few years, I was kind of learning really just out of plain interest and pleasure. And I would say that honestly, looking retrospectively, I would say that it helped me maintain a healthy relationship with the music. And I think it was maybe later on when I was maybe 12 or 13 when I was successfully admitted to the first international piano competition that I did, which was the Gina Bakar in Salt Lake City. That was when, it was time to practice more seriously, So yeah, but I would say it's quite gradual. But I think as for any kind of doing any sort of profession or something, when you have the opportunity to do something that maybe is greater than yourself or that, is kind of like a stepping stone in your life, I think that often is a great kind of motivation to, start taking things more seriously.
Thank you. That's really a remarkable story. So you mentioned the competition, so I will move to the next question, and that is 2015. The most prestigious competition in the world was 17th International Chopin Piano Competition, and you are becoming the youngest laureate in the history of that competition. I think that this is very, very remarkable work and a great award, so I would like to know a little bit more about experience in that competition and how long did it take you to get ready for it? How is the whole competition looking? How long does it take?
Honestly, thinking back to this competition always makes me feel like, I'm already starting to get old because it was nearly 10 years ago, honestly. And it's crazy how fast time flies. And, with that being said, I was 16 at the time. And so, I was very...
And sorry to interrupt, the 16 is the minimum required age.
Yes, yeah.
So you cannot enter younger.
Yeah. So I think it's between 16 to 30 at this point. But of course, it's kind of, people are coming from all over the world to attend to participate, and etc. And so, at that point, I was only 16, still in high school. I don't think I really understood the scope of the competition. I was so innocent and I was just a kid. So, this is just, maybe some other competition for me. And, I didn't really understand what it came with. And so in terms of preparation, of course, I didn't expect to get anything out of this competition. And so I didn't really, prepare so much the later stages. And in total, there were, from the application until the end of the competition, there's 6 rounds. And so, of course, I was kind of more focused on the first few rounds, and the later few rounds I was, kind of neglecting. But as I progressed through the competition, to my absolute surprise, the last few days of the competition were indeed very intense. But I would say that, since kind of that experience, I felt that I've had to, grow up a lot very quickly, mature very quickly. And it was definitely such a great learning experience for me. But I honestly think at that point in time, I probably also wasn't, ready for the career that came afterwards.
The weight of it.
Exactly, and the weight and the expectations, So yeah. But in terms of actually preparing for the competition, we're kind of associated or introduced to Chopin's music at a very young age. And so, ever since, I was, kind of studying the piano a few years in, I was already kind of playing Chopin's music. But actually seriously preparing for the competition, I would say it was kind of the summer before the competition. So I would say maybe 3 months in total for this very, I guess, intensive preparation.
Yeah. Well done. After that, I believe that your career is, changing completely, and that you're getting more opportunities and to perform and to be exposed to the audience. So can you tell me how is your concert career looking today? Where are you performing? Where audience can listen to you? What are you doing? What is your social? You mentioned you have some social work and a lot of community events and charity things. So would you like to share some details?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right after the competition, I did definitely get some, kind of more exposure than, before. And it was very intense, but I wasn't necessarily ready, not only in terms of, I guess, playing, but also in my mind. I told you, I kind of, was thinking maybe I would go to, a good university to study something else, which I ended up doing because I still wanted to have that optionality, that choice. And so yeah, I guess, I kind of meandered here and there, but on a zigzag and, quite a journey. And then I finished my degree not last May, 2 years ago, May. And yeah, ever since then, I've kind of been kind of more full-time playing. And so, I've played kind of in Europe, in North America, in Asia, Middle East. I was here, my first time actually to the UAE was for the Expo. Yes, so that was a very nice introduction to this region, and of course also South America and Africa as well. I think, part of my personality is that I'm also very much an adventurer and a traveler at heart, and I try to sometimes be very proactive, about kind of places I would like to go to, kind of things I would like to do. And so, yeah, I guess most of my career nowadays is centered around Asia, and also, yeah, the Middle East is I'm coming more and more frequently nowadays, which I'm very happy about. And also in Africa, I'm also quite interested kind of in that region, especially bringing, the power of classical music, the healing power of classical music to underprivileged regions in Africa, and as well as in China. Recently I've also been doing kind of some work a little bit with blind children in China, and just kind of seeing, for me, just kind of seeing how music can really just transcend so many barriers, regardless of where you come from, regardless of your background in life. it has so much power. And for me, one of the most, I guess, memorable experiences was when I was having a little tour in Lithuania. But this tour wasn't just any normal tour. It was with a Canadian nonprofit called Looking at the Stars Foundation, and they bring classical music to prisons. And it's absolutely phenomenal what they do. And yeah, and sometimes I would go into these prisons and be ready to play a concert, and there would be a lot of chaos sometimes to get people seated. And maybe also at the beginning of the performance, some people, they just walk out if they're not interested in what's going on. But after a while, and especially towards the end of the recital, you can actually feel that everyone is kind of coming together, and not as cautious, not as defensive as before. And I think in general, honest music making helps really start discussions, and really helps open people up. And for me, just kind of always the after concert discussions with audience members, I mean, regardless of prison or not, they're so meaningful, and they bring back the true value of what it means to be a storyteller, to be a musician. And so yeah, I guess in general, I just love to do kind of different kinds of events, performing for different kinds of audiences, with kids as well, and just kind of seeing what this singular thing, what we think is music, how this singular thing can kind of transform and encompass everything. So it's quite a phenomenon, and I think that kind of my career at the moment is really centered around my my urge to discover the all-encompassing, I guess, power and aura of music. Yeah,
this phenomenon, really, it's really amazing to hear that someone at your age and with a bright career is doing such amazing things for, as you mentioned, different types of communities, different audience. And this is just the proof that we can agree that music is universal language, that we can reach any audience.
Absolutely. And I think, yes,
getting that feedback from them, it's something that is very valuable, and for us as musicians, and that means that our message is actually sent, and that they felt something definitely and enjoyed in performances.
I think one of the most amazing things about music is that you can kind of, it's so much about willpower. And, sometimes I find what the fascinating thing is, maybe you might have a lot of, kind of like technical things that you have to, solve, of course. But then if you have kind of this vision in your mind, and you have a vision of what the music should sound like, at least to you, sometimes, you might not even know exactly what you're doing, but if you really, that willpower that you develop from training in music can, suddenly bring, kind of miracles to your hands, what you thought were not possible before. But since you have this image and you have such a willpower to discover that image, you might do some things with the hands or with your pedal that you would not have been able to do if you were just approaching it from kind of a strictly
technical
point of view. And yeah, that's honestly so fascinating. And I think it's, helped me kind of with my, in other areas of life as well, just being able to better understand, humans, relationships, and even things like academics. It's really helped me. I think there's just such a fundamental human skill that we can hone, these, the sixth or seventh sense that we can hone through music, that we can ultimately take into other parts of our lives, and just make things much more colorful.
Wonderful. I mean, we could continue this discussion later. I had a couple of questions from our students, actually 2 questions only. One of them is, do you have any special routine before your performances? And the other one is that, of course, after so many recitals, concerts, competitions, and years of performing, do you still have a stage fright?
Well, so I am someone who is always kind of, changing, so my opinions are always very wishy-washy. But as of today, I can say that also, it really depends on the scenario. It really depends on the scenario. I think stage fright is not necessarily a bad thing, in my opinion. Well, I strongly believe it's not a bad thing, because you get stage fright because you kind of care about what you will produce. And I think that is kind of like a byproduct of a strong intention, a strong conviction to do good, both for yourself and for the audience. So I absolutely respect kind of very much people who embrace their stage fright, and I think that's maybe the important thing. I still definitely do feel stage fright from time to time. Sometimes it's of course worse, sometimes it's of course better, and that depends on of course what's going on in my personal life and also what's the
there are many factors about it.
Factors. But then it's very important that sometimes we kind of take this kind of energy and transform it maybe into excitement, and find ways to kind of trick our brains to think that it's taking this energy and rechanneling it in some other way that will be beneficial for the performance. I think just embracing stage fright. I
use it for something positive.
Yes, but of course sometimes it doesn't work out. So I think it really depends. And then of course maybe sometimes you just it's truly like a very very chill vibe, and maybe you are kind of nervous in different ways, but I think it really depends on the scenario and on the day. And sometimes, I think on the very, very good days, I think as soon as you kind of hear the sound and the vibrations from the piano, you can, kind of, the stage fright goes away immediately, which I think is a phenomenon that is, just so amazing about music. But yeah, I think it's just very, very important to just be in the zone and really enjoy the small details of music, and the listening even to just one note and listening to the vibrations of that note, and just sinking into the vibrations of the piano. I think that often helps me once I'm kind of seated at the piano and starting to play. In terms of pre-concert rituals. So I kind of
I will call it routine.
A routine.
Routine, yes.
Exactly. I think what I was gonna say is that I kind of canceled rituals from my life a while ago, because I started getting superstitious. For example, if things are not working, as
in the order, yes,
is important. But I think in general, I mean, nowadays, I'm experimenting a lot with actually listening to different kinds of music before I go on stage, and the reason behind that is, to kind of to warm up the ears. I think that in some ways is even more important than warming up the hands. Of course, if your hands are frozen cold, that's not a good thing. But assuming that you have a piano backstage, I think also sometimes to warm up the ears is a really good thing. Recently, I have been also kind of eating a couple of bananas before I go on stage. Apparently, the potassium in the bananas really helps your brain, function better. So I do that. So, I mean, sometimes I sleep, but in general, no hard routine. Or sometimes, if I'm kind of a bit annoyed or a bit nervous, especially if I'm more nervous about the concert or whatever, sometimes I may even call a friend just to, distract my mind a bit. Yeah, I think that's actually one of the most difficult things that I've realized about kind of performing, or about kind of, especially with regards to memorization, is that when you start to be so nervous and you start to think about each note individually, that you know what I mean. That becomes very difficult. So I think it's just important not to think too much. And
not to think too much.
Just do it. Just do it.
So technically, only the first couple of notes are most important. After that, everything is coming
exactly
easily when performance.
Yes, in a good
way, of course. Great. I had to ask you because a lot of students, are asking, and they have the stage fright before the competition, before the even smaller recitals. So, and they don't know how to deal with that, how to use it. So, I believe, and as a teacher, also I found very challenging explaining to them how to use that energy, as you mentioned, in a positive way, and how to go through that couple of seconds going out on the stage, adjusting the chair, preparing yourself, and starting. That is actually most important. And if they can stay focused and concentrated in that moment, that after the performances and the music is taking them and everything, and all of them, they're saying, yeah, just first couple of notes. After that, everything was fine, and the performance is coming out perfectly.
Exactly. I think one thing that I've also, I've read, some quote recently. I forget the philosopher or whoever wrote it, but it talks about kind of being full and how that sometimes is very, very necessary to kind of discover new things about yourself. And I think, sometimes for me, especially when I'm kind of not as prepared as I want, to be, which is oftentimes the case, because just c'est la vie, it's life, sometimes you have other things coming along. And I think that it's just important sometimes just to be, super brave, almost like a skydiver, and just, whatever happens, happens. And don't be afraid to be a fool and to, kind of experiment with different things on the stage. Of course, maybe there's not the, the flexibility to do that all the time, but even someone like Victor Borge,
yes,
famous pianist, and he plays phenomenally, but, I was, reading that he kind of got into more comedic performance just because he was so nervous, to play a serious concert. And kind of that, in a way, was allowing him to be so much more free on stage, and he was able to do so many more things. And even though, sometimes he can play very, very seriously, but under the kind of mindset that is very, very liberating, I think that is also something that, I've been trying to work on and grapple with.
Exactly. Yeah, that's definitely the interesting. Okay, Tommy. Next question, actually, the reason why you're here in UAE is because there are 3 concerts that you will be performing in Dubai on 8th, 9th, and 11th of February. So can you tell us a little bit more about these concerts, where they will be held, what is on your repertoire, and what the audience can expect from you?
Yeah, so on the 8th, I will be at the Canadian University in Dubai. And so this is actually like a spring gala kind of concert that they're doing. And I will be sharing the stage with a violinist as well as another pianist who is on the faculty at CUD. And we'll be doing a mixture of programs. And for me, I will be playing 3 preludes by Gershwin, some Chopin waltzes, and also Liszt's Spanish Rhapsody. And in terms of collaborations, I'll be playing Libertango, Piazzolla, and also Brahms' Hungarian Dance #1. Yeah, very, very famous music. And so yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. And then on the 9th, it will not be a concert actually, but it will just be some master classes at Steinway Dubai at their new concert hall. It'll just be for 2 hours between 3 to 5, and I'll probably also play a little bit, and at least kind of involve the audience.
Can you tell me, is that masterclass open for the audience, or it's
Yes, it's an open masterclass. And then my final concert in Dubai this trip will be at Toda, the Theater of Digital Art in Dubai, and it's a fascinating place. Because they have kind of these amazing digital installations that that will happen simultaneously as you perform. So you can kind of imagine the music both with your ears and with your eyes. I mean, through of course the guidance of the visuals. And so that will be quite fascinating. That'll be just me playing, and I'll be doing Debussy. 3 works by Debussy, very famous works, and then again some Chopin waltzes, and then I'll be doing Liszt Liebesraum, Valet Doberman and the Spanish Rhapsody, and the theme for that concert is actually centered around Valentine's Day, which is amazing. So I would encourage any couples or people looking to propose, maybe, yes, to go to that concert. But yeah, no, it's I'm very excited for all three of them.
I mean, it's a nice occasion, and we'll use this opportunity to invite everyone to not to miss this amazing repertoire. Personally, I know the whole repertoire, so it's something that definitely should be here heard. Okay, last question for today. As here at the Four Notes, we are mainly working with the students and focus on education. As what will be your message to all young musicians who are maybe just starting playing any instruments, or they're already playing?
You know, I guess it's very cliche things that I'll say, but I totally agree with them. And I think as you grow older, maybe when you watch this video in 20 years, you know, the kids, they'll also maybe understand. But I think it's very, very important to kind of like what you do, or even if you don't love it at first, find ways to like it or apply it to things that you already like. And I think just finding the connections between music and other things that you do in your life can sometimes very much facilitate, you know, your overall development and your relationship with, you know, studying the piano, etc. And I think just exposing yourself to as much performance or as many different things in life as possible. And once you do find your interests, you know, I think it's important very much to just keep going and to, you know, go at it. And sometimes, you know, it does take a lot of hard work, but without sweat, you know, it's very difficult to, you know, kind of, I guess, transcend yourself or your current level. And yeah, I think just approaching things with a very curious attitude is always very helpful.
Thank you very much for this message. I believe that students and all young musicians will be very grateful for this advice. Tommy, thank you very much for your time. On behalf of Four Notes and myself, I wish you wonderful performances in Dubai and amazing time in UAE. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again here at our space, hopefully for some community concerts or maybe some masterclass in the future.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. Dear friends, this was the first episode of Meet the Artist at Four Notes. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on social media.